All right, today we are going to be talking about comparing fractions, and this lesson I think will be a lot of review for you guys, but for some of you it might be a little tricky. So I'm going to cover two really important rules that you need to know when you're comparing fractions. Here is rule number one, and I already wrote it. Rule number one, it says that when the denominators are the same, the fraction with the larger numerator is bigger. Now I know that's a lot of words, so I'm going to go ahead and give you an example. So when the denominators are the same, so I'm going to write two fractions here, and their denominators are going to be 8. When the denominators are the same, denominator, just pointing over because remember that is the denominator and the numerator is on top. Okay, so when the denominators are the same, the fraction with the larger numerator is bigger. So if we have 1/8 versus 3/8, which numerator is larger? It would be this one. So what it's saying is when the denominators are the same, the fraction with the larger numerator is bigger. So we'd say, oh yeah, these are both 8ths. And since we only have 1/8 here, but we have 3/8 here, this is obviously going to be bigger because we have more 8ths. Okay, and I'll give you another example of that. Over here, what if I have 2/5 versus 4/5? Which one is going to be larger? Well, we have fifths, and in this fraction we only have 2/5. This fraction we have 4/5. So in this fraction, if we look at the rule, these two denominators are the same. This numerator is bigger. So this fraction is going to be larger. You can also think of it as we have more fifths than 2/5. Okay, so that's rule number one. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you rule number two. Rule number two says that when the numerators are the same, the fraction with the smaller denominator is smaller. So let me give you an example for that one as well. So let's say that we have the numerators are both 1. Remember, the numerator is the top number. Numerator, the top number. And it says that the denominators are going to have different numbers. So let's say that this is a 3rd and this is a 5th. Okay, so when the numerators are the same, the fraction with the smaller denominator, oh, I actually wrote that, I wrote that incorrect. Look, I just made a mistake and I caught it. Because the rule, even though I did it beforehand so I wouldn't make a mistake, here's a mistake. The fraction with the smaller denominator is not smaller. Get that out of here. It's larger. I apologize for my mistake. Okay, so we're gonna look at that again. 1/3 right here. That smaller denominator is larger. And let me show you why. And I know on Khan Academy, that link that I sent you, it just explained this, but I'll explain it again, just using Mrs. Greenleaf's wording instead of the Khan Academy guide. So if we have to represent 1/3 here, we would go and we would break this whole into third pieces. And this whole would have to be split into more pieces. It's gonna have to be split into 5 pieces. And I'm gonna do the best I can. Not bad, okay? And if we notice, we talked about this in class, but I know it's been a while. These pieces are a lot smaller. So remember when I was like, oh, would you rather have 1/5 of a brownie or 1/3 of a brownie? And a lot of you said, I'd rather have 1/3 because I only have to share it with 3 people. I get a bigger piece. If I have to share with 5 people, I only get 1/5 of it. And so that's a smaller piece because the more pieces that we break, the smaller the pieces get. So you can think of it as the bigger the denominator, the smaller the piece. Or as in this rule, the smaller the denominator, the bigger the piece. It's getting broken up into bigger pieces. Well, it's not getting broken up into as many pieces, so the pieces are bigger. So again, when the numerators are the same, the fraction with the smaller denominator is larger. Okay, I'll show that to you over here. So if we have 2 and 2, so the numerators are the same. And let's see that if I had 2 fifths or 2 tenths. Let's review that rule. Okay, so the numerators are the same. So the fraction with the smaller denominator is the larger one. Okay, that's the smaller denominator. That means 2 out of 5 are being filled, whereas in this one, 2 out of 10. So a lot less are being filled, you could say. All right. So those are our 2 rules that I'm going to have you cover to practice today in your workbook. And I'll go ahead and take a picture of this so that you can see it to help you. And I'm going to go ahead and go over some of the problems in your workbook that you're going to do.